Oh boy, do I have a game for you. So I have been all over the place with this deck lately, and I've yet again come around full circle, although nothing's, 100%, but I ended up right back where I was initially in terms of running Humility and Terminus and Deluge as my creature control. And actually, going even further back, I actually put the two signets back into the deck. Now, I had to make some fairly painful cuts for me. I cut Condescend and Deprive, and I definitely do not like cutting counterspells, much less two counterspells. However, they are the weakest of them, of the ones that I was running. Of the two of those, I'd probably be more tempted to run Deprive just for the synergy with Tax and the fact that it's simply a hard counter. Um, but I honestly, at this point, have no idea where to fit that card into the deck list. And so I'm definitely open to suggestions. But that is an aside. I'm going to scroll down for the lands because, wow, I had such a good game. And it was a very good thing that I had the signets in here, actually. So let's take a look at what happened. Now, a lot of these games, this loss here, I timed out because somebody AFK'd and came back and didn't give me a tell, and I had no idea they were back, so I ended up losing the game. A couple of these I got beat testing all kinds of like just different stuff. So anyway, it's been a lot of games today, and what is that, like four legitimate losses? It's been a very painful day. So anyway, this game I thought was going to be number five, and I was so happy with the configuration, and then to lose after adjusting. This was a fairly recent change back into the, and as a matter of fact, since that last loss, and this one not actually counting, I've only had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games with the signets in. So anyway, let's take a look at what happens here. So, because boy, is this an exciting game for me. Anyway, I was playing against Narset. I hate this card, but I do feel happier having the extra removal in since I'm facing Narset. But I felt like I had to mulligan his hand like a first turn top, and then I'm digging for land and hoping to find some kind of solution to Narset. Just didn't seem too good to me, so I mulligan to this. This looks quite good. Early Lotus, Duretti, um, Toxic Deluge for Narset. I like it. So I decided I'm going to put Factor Fiction on the bottom here because it looks like early on I might be quite busy, and I'd rather just find another land and get a more stable mana base in case my opponent has some kind of disruption, rather than have the fact and hope that I'm going to be able to do it off the Lotus. It may have been wrong now that I look at the game again. So just sort of Feast and Famine's not too helpful, so I play the Grim. Just going to leave it on play for a little while. Opponent gets a Talisman out. I go with the Lotus plan, and then since I've got mana left over, I go ahead and throw it into the thing I want on the board the most, which is Feast and Famine, so we'll get that down while we can. And the opponent now his Chromatic Lantern is dangerously close to casting Narset, so I have to figure out if I wanted to strip mine or Duretti. Fortunately, I drew Disenchants. This actually gives me even more options. I decide ultimately that I want a permanent source in play, and then I can use Duretti this turn, and next turn I can use both Duretti and Disenchant. But if I do it in the other order, I might not have that luxury, so I go ahead and immediately kill his Lantern with my Grim, and then strip mine his Command Tower. There was no way for me to have an extra white to disenchant that as well, so it'll have to wait. So I'm in a very dangerous spot. He actually has more mana producing permanents, even though technically right now I have more mana. And look at that, Mana Crypt into an Azorius Chancery. This is so ridiculous. I guess he was holding the Chancery because of the Strip Mine, which is one of the reasons why you should always sandbag your Strip Mine in Wastelands. But, of course, there was nothing I could do this game. I had to show it to get the Grim Monolith on the table. This is ridiculous amount of mana. So, unfortunately, I drew a Winter Orb. And I think I made a mistake here. Well, no. Maybe not. So, I need to kill the Mana Crypt, and I need to kill the Talisman both, because I don't really see any other way of keeping him off a Narset. So I'm going to have to cast, and I was trying to think about it, is there a way I can disenchant, like kill the Mana Crypt, kill the Talisman and clear the way of his blue, and then disenchant the Mana Crypt when he doesn't have 2 blue? But because of the way I need to do this, I couldn't see any sort of manner that I could accomplish that. So I go ahead and just go for it. I disenchant his crypt, cast Winter Orb, and then immediately trade in the orb for his talisman. So I've destroyed one, two, three, four, five of this guy's mana, and he's still got four mana this turn. I, on the other hand, have lost. I have been sitting on four mana for basically the whole game and haven't found any. My hand is almost empty too, 2 to 5. Like I am really hurting here. So I need to get something going. Here's where I kind of wish I still had the Factor Fiction, and he plays Elspeth. I was thinking I was finally like kind of stabilizing, and then this freaking Elspeth hits. But I top deck a land, so I can actually Shackles, steal the soldier, and use the soldier to start hitting him. So this is actually really good for me. So I will sit, fake a counter for now. Plus, excuse me, there's always a chance that I could get him to screw up here and try to give his guy flying and go after my Duretti, and then I could respond by shackling his guy. Oh, he's doing something much worse than that. Return blows and the shackles. It's so brutal here. Then he can pump his guy and kill Duretti. Well, fortunately, I can at least steal his guy in response to give it summoning sickness. But not that that's all that much better. So now I'm facing an Elspeth, two guys, 4 mana, and I've got a defender creature, a sword, 2 lands. I'm 1 card in hand. He's got 4 cards in hand. Oh, goody, Vandal Blast. Like, this game seems just over. So I'll go ahead and put the sword on the construct to disincentivize him from attacking with both creatures. Of course, as expected, he pumped his guy and smashed and killed. There was no way for me to save Duretti there. To play Signet, so I've got a chance to, I've got something I can possibly Vandal Blast. But then he plays the Chain Veil, which for 4 mana will let him double pump his Planeswalker. And I was thinking about Vandal Blasting the Chain Veil here, and I was thinking about Vandal Blasting the Signet here. The problem with either one of those plays really is that, well, I just drew Dark Confidant, and Confidant would let me do something maybe with my sword. But more importantly, I need to get some cards in my hand because I'm not going to win this game by doing nothing. So I'm going to have to, I realize, of course, what this means with the Chain Veil and Elspeth out, but I mean, what can I do? I've got to get cards in my hand. Like, you know, these cards just aren't, they're not getting me there. So as expected, he pumps his soldier and then he activates the Chain Veil and goes ultimate with Elspeth. I was kind of hoping he'd be greedy, kind of hoping. I'm not sure if I was 100% hoping, but if he got a little bit greedy there with Elspeth, I might have been able to, I could have maybe found a way to get through and do something, but he doesn't. So now all of his permanents are indestructible, so I'm down another card because Vandal Blast is useless now. Confidant finds me, luckily, some mana, and I drew one of the Signets. So this would be, if this was Mox Opal, it would be fine. If this card were, in fact, it'd be better than fine. But if this card were Mox Diamond, it would be worse. So those were 2 cards that I had before the Signets. So it's hard to say, it's 50-50 whether or not this card would actually have been better or worse. But that's why there's Signets right now, because it's consistently, I mean, Signet's probably one of the best turn 2 plays you can have. So I'm going to go ahead and move the sword over to the Confidant and pass. And then my opponent, I thought, was going to cast Narset. Instead, he cast Phyrexian Rebirth. So now I don't even have a Confidant. I don't have my Trump blockers. His guys are indestructible. He gets a 33. I mean, seriously, how much worse can this get? Well, at least, so I drew Mind Twist. So this is a very rough turn. What I really want to do is Mind Twist his hand away, right? So I can do that, but it doesn't do like a lot that's very good for me, because what I'm thinking is, if I can cast my commander here. So if I cast Breya here, I'm expecting at some point, hopefully next turn, he's just going to tap out for Narset and say go. And then if he does that, I can equip my sword. So like, let's say he draws up to his 4th card, casts Narset and says go. Then I can equip my sword, hit him, drop him down to 3 cards and then mind twist away his hand. So the play here, although it looks like it should be twist, I feel like I have a lot more potential reward by playing Breya here now. So I go Breya. He hits a land drop, which is unfortunate, so I'm not going to get the full amount. But he does play Narset, so I sure wish he had not hit that land. And then look at this Terminus. So I can Terminus and it'll kill the creatures because while indestructible, Terminus doesn't care. However, I just played Breya. If I'd have mind twisted him last turn and gone the other route, then this turn I would have drawn Terminus and swept away the board without, and still had my Breya like at without making it cost more. But since I didn't, I'm gonna have to let that go. It is a little nice to have it if I can just figure out how to get up to 6 mana. I have to put Sword on a flyer, but it actually works really nice here. So, and one thing for me to keep in mind too is I can shrink his guys with Breya, not Narset of course because it's untargetable, but I can shrink his other indestructibles using Breya's ability, and that will kill them, but I need spare artifacts to do it. Meanwhile, I've got a flyer here. Let's get some damage going. Let's get a card out of his hand. And then I can't afford to mind twist. Look what he discarded, a card that draws a ton of cards, right? But I can't afford to mind twist him. I have to assume the other 2 cards are even better than this. That's scary stuff, but I don't see how I can mind twist here safely, let him attack with Narset if he's playing with crap like this, and then just potentially lose. Plus he's playing the Chain Veil, so he's probably playing a lot of Planeswalkers, which means an attack from Narset could be something that I can't recover from. So I just got to clear the board out for now and hope that I can find a way to deal with the rest later. So I deluge for 2, and that allows me to keep my flyer as well as a Breya. And boy, do I wish I could Vandal Blast that stupid Signet over there. And then he plays Teferi, and then I don't know what this guy's smoking, but it must be some good stuff because he taps 5, uses the Chain Veil on Teferi so he can use it again. Taps, untapping the Chain Veil, taps 4 and uses the Chain Veil again. Now he's back to the 5 that he had. Uses the Chain Veil again, and now he's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Like, what was the point of all that? He has less mana than he had at the start of the turn, and he's killing Teferi for me. It's fantastic. Anyway, so then he finally gets Venser, and I think, oh, okay, I see what he's gonna do. He's gonna exile Teferi, and then he'll get it back like fully charged. So he did all that stupid stuff so that he could somehow, not that he had to do that to get to this point. He could have just, he had 5 earlier, remember? He just took counters off Teferi for no reason at all. I don't understand it. And then he goes and he Vensers away the Chain Veil. What is going on over there? And I drew a mana drain, so that means, just thinking about it, I want to get the last card out of his hand, but I also want to, so I can't hit him with the sword though, because I need to kill Teferi, because Teferi's absolutely freaking terrifying. Fortunately, I can Mind Twist. I get Contagion Engine. And I did that wrong. I should have tapped all lands. Oh wait, no, they're not going to untap. Never mind, I did that correctly. They're not going to untap, sorry. Alright, so Teferi's dead thanks to my opponent killing him, which made no sense, but rock on. So now he's got a Venser over there. So he can flicker things, but that's, I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't seem too bad. And he goes Blatant Thievery, trying to steal, of all things, Breya. So, obviously he's offering me, like, I can sack Breya and maybe, say, my Signet and do 3 to redirect it to his Venser. He'll get nothing. And then next turn attack and kill his Venser. And there's certainly a play that I considered, but given that I get to mana drain 7 mana right now and keep an extra mana source when I'm so tight on mana, I figure I'll just go the mana drain route. So he flickers, it doesn't matter, Reflecting Pool, and look what I top decked. Merchant Scroll, right on frickin' time. So I merchant scroll for... Come on, deck. So I merchant scroll for Cyclonic Rift. And I rift him up, and then I move the sword over to Breya, and I send the team. And now he's got three. His token's dead. Indestructible doesn't care about bounce. So now he's got the Chain Veil, his Planeswalker, and his Signet. And his commander now is getting a little bit hard. It needs 8 mana, so he's going to need to keep that Signet. So he throws away Chain Veil, which I'm not happy about because honestly, I wanted him to throw away the Planeswalker or the Signet, of course, because Chain Veil is garbage without. Well, it's just generally bad, but without a Planeswalker, it's straight up awful. 4 mana, do 2 damage to yourself every turn seems pretty bad. So then he taps a ton of mana, and I think, well, I'm probably dead now. But I keeping in mind that I can shrink a creature even though they're indestructible over there. So what is he doing? Turns out he's probably miscounting. He thought he could play his commander. So he does nothing. He doesn't even play his Signet. What a huge error. And look at that top deck, Future Sight. So if I can just get 1 more mana, oh man, I am in such good shape. Well, not that I can yet. I mean, I don't have it. So I go face again. And I'm leaving the sword on the commander, well, mainly because 12 commander damage in 2 turns, I just win if I can just stall for 2 turns. So he throws away Venser, which is phenomenal. That is a card I didn't want to see. So we know he's holding, at this point I know he's holding Signet. And it's the only card I know that he's holding. And now I don't know, he has 2 mystery cards. I don't know what they are. Come on, deck. Or game. Do something, please. Oh, Magic Online. I hate you passionately. Path to Exile, and it looks a lot like a Izzet Signet there. So he pass on my turn, so I'm going to get the mana. And not during combat, which is really weird. And I thought about, sacking for 3 damage. I mean, he's at 19. He's kind of low, but that would be silly, killing my own mana sources. So I get to use Path of Exile's ability here and go get myself an island, which is pretty dang cool. I figured that meant he had some kind of instant here, but we're going to find out. Because as bad as I want Future Sight out, if I could take a card out of his hand, push damage, take a card out of his hand, push damage, and maybe do it all for 0, I'm gonna go for it, of course. Connects. That was a horrible play on his part, and look what he lost. Ujin. Wow. Okay. So I thought about playing the island and then casting Future Sight, leaving Command Tower up so that I have the most flexibility, or actually it would be Confluence. But then I thought, well, what if the top card's a land? So I'm going to tap out. Aw, it's Enlightened Tutor. If only I had actually left Confluence untapped, but I made the more correct play. There's only a tiny handful of 1-drops, and there's a whole bunch of lands in the deck, since I haven't drawn basically any this whole game, so... And an opponent draws for the turn. So I'm thinking, okay, during my upkeep I could cast Enlightened Tutor, but I can do that any time with Future Sight and go get what I want. So what, with the amount of mana he's had, he couldn't have drawn a land, because if you drew a land, you would have went land commander. And otherwise, all I can imagine he drew is, unless it's on par with Ujin, he probably drew a counterspell here. So I'm actually going to attack first and look at my next card. So I really want to just cast Humility. I'll lose flying, but otherwise my Thopter doesn't care at all. I also thought about maybe casting the commander here, but I don't know what like I said, I think he may have a counterspell over there, and I'm just not willing to risk it. It's real greedy to do like my commander here, because if he does have a counterspell, um, then what I can do is I can enlighten tutor. I can hit him, put the sword up on the stack, cast the enlighten tutor. He'll just counter that, and then I'll cast the humility. Um, or I can just let him discard. But I kind of want to get the humility down. Actually, thinking what I was thinking was I would let him discard. I would tap mana and float it, and then let him discard. Then enlighten tutor for free, and go get and let humility go most likely, and then go get Sensei's divining top. Since I have Terminus in my hand, where I can Terminus away his commander if I need to. Um, but with Sword's ability on the stack, so this makes me fairly certain it was a counter. He scoops it up. So, oh God, would I have gotten Sensei's Divining Top? I may not have. I may have gone and got Expedition Map just to map and kill the Chancery and leave him with only 5 mana left. Oh wait, I can't. It's indestructible. Yeah, so I would have gone and got top. But anyway, I thought that was a pretty awesome game because it was. I mean, at one point, like it was absurd how far behind I was this game. Return to Dust, Elspeth, Phyrexian Rebirth. My opponent had tons of mana. I'm playing the whole game on just, at one point, well, for a while, I was playing on just one land. Eventually, I got up to a whopping two until the very, very end. So this was just a super, super satisfying victory. And I think it bodes well for the way that the deck is constructed. Um, I don't feel like I'm necessarily, this is the end all be all version, but I like what's happening here. And as badly as I have tried and tried and tried to cut the humility and put in like every other card that I can possibly think of, something that won't nerf like my own Notion Thief, for example. I've tried to play like Linvala to shut down mana sources, and just leave them with a bunch of creatures with no abilities. But the problem is, unlike humility, well, first of all, for some decks, Linvala is easier to kill. Like against black, Linvala is nothing, whereas humility can be just game over. And and the other problem, of course, is that sometimes the problem isn't all their mana guys. The problem is all their come into play effects. So they're, playing, acidic slimes and all kinds of stuff that humility would normally shut down, and I can't deal with it. So I can't find a card in Magic that's better than that card for me, for I guess for the what I'm trying to do with the deck. But I'm certainly interested in anybody else's thoughts. The other option, of course, would be to play sort of like tighten the deck down and speed wise, and just play like an hyper aggressive, like early disruption game, and basically say that if they get to the long game, you lose. But you're going to try to prevent them from getting there, and that could work really well. It would certainly beat all of the fair decks and fair draws. But where that runs into trouble, and what was frustrating me, is if the opponent gets a grossly overpowered draw, and you don't have like certain things to recover, and humility does a great job of that, then the sort of like early game low mana curve aggressive disruption style falls apart, because that style really works under the assumption that the opponent is deploying lands and has roughly the same amount of mana that you do. But if they're doing ridiculous, like starts with Soul Ring, Crypt, and Vault, then you can't work on that. Like that assumption falls apart, and then you lose. So I think that for now at least, I'm comfortable where it is, and I very much like having the signets back in the deck a lot more than probably the. I mean, I like the counters too, and I really wish they were here, but I think it may have been just a mistake to pull the signets, because the deck is super super mana hungry. And when you have like a 4-color commander, and these signets will turn a Soul Ring into 2 of those colors, it's just too good. So I don't know. I don't know where I would get Deprive back in here, but if you all have a suggestion, I'm certainly open to it. Um, But otherwise, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. That was one of the best games I've played in a while, and certainly one of the coolest recoveries. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.